Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again, and I am here for a very odd choice, I would say, a very odd choice of a movie review, just because I have so many other movies that I have to catch up on and I haven't gotten to them yet, and it's so strange that I'm doing this movie first. But yeah, I just saw the drama. This is a movie that, I probably wouldn't have even planned on seeing it, but there was some controversy around it because of a topic that is discussed throughout the movie. And unlike TMZ, I am not going to spoil the movie for at least 5 minutes. I'm not going to spoil it for people if you want to go see it. I'll just tell you this. It is a strange movie. It is an A24 movie. And, A24 movies, they are pretty consistent to me for being movies that have great concepts, but they have terrible executions, or they just kind of peter out because, I don't know, it's almost like a rumination on an idea. Like, that's how I would describe A24 movies. Like, I see their movies as like, we have a great idea, and let's ruminate on it for 2 hours. And as an idea, I thought that, this movie actually had a really good idea. And, I'm not even that big on Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. They are the leads of this movie. But I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed their performances. I was really in the mood for this type of movie, too. I was like, okay, this seems like it would be a nice and refreshing movie to watch where, there's not a lot of action and it's just drama, as the title says, and there's a lot of talking and a lot of character and acting. And so that's what you get with this movie. You get a drama. Now, I will say the performances were great, but there is some room for, I guess, wanting more. That's the way that I felt at the end of this movie. Was I wanted more. I felt like there were a lot of parts where they were very vague, or they did this thing that really bothered me, where they would cut between sequences. Like, okay, so let's just say the main character, he walks into a restaurant, and then after that, they'll cut back to 10 minutes ago to show you what happened during another thing that happened. And they'll just cut back and forth and back and forth. And it's like, honestly, it feels like a cutesy modern editing thing so that they can hide that there's not much story here. And I don't think that it's needed. I don't think that that was necessary. And they did that constantly throughout the movie, where they would just cut back and forth and back and forth, after the character has moved on, and you're like, oh, wait, what happened? And then you have to wait for the flashback of, like, back and forth and back and forth. And, so, yeah. And in terms of story, though, like, it really felt like an A24 movie in the sense that it started off with a lot of promise. And there was this long middle period where even the music was kind of meandering. And it was a shame because these performances were great. And, again, I'm not going to sugarcoat. Like, if I thought that Zendaya gave a terrible performance, I would say that I thought she gave a terrible performance, but I thought she did really good. I thought Robert Pattinson, he did really, really good. In particular, I really liked his performance because his character was kind of wimpy, and he was kind of like weak, and just, he needed to speak up for himself, and needed to, speak with power, and and really say what he thought. And that gave me a lot of inspiration personally, because I have a film where I need to do that myself. And so it gave me some kind of a little reference there. I mean, this main guy, Charlie, he's this kind of George McFly character. And then you have Zendaya, and I don't even want to tell you about her character, because I'll spoil it, and I don't want to ruin it for you. So that's literally like probably all that I have to say about the movie, like in terms of non-spoilers, because there's no way that you can say anything else without spoiling it. And I guess you could say, like, again, I wanted more. I felt like it needed to go further. But that is all A24 movies. All A24 movies, they play it safe. They don't do what they could do. And, again, it's like a rumination on an idea. It's kind of like, if you and your friend, like when you're kids, if you had an idea for a movie together, and you sat with your friend and talked to them about it for like 2 hours. Like, hey, what if we made a movie, and it could be about this and that and this and that. And it's like the experience of sitting around talking about a movie for 2 hours. That's what this movie's like, but that's what all A24 movies are like. A24 movies, they are not the greatest. It really always feels like a letdown, because, there's a great idea here, and then the movie just doesn't, it's like an erection that goes, ooh, it's like when you're watching something and it's like, oh wow, look, it's Sydney Sweeney, and you're looking at her boobs, and then they have a shot, they have a close-up shot where you got to look at her face, and then it goes, I'm just kidding about that, by the way. I'm just kidding. But that's the experience of A24 movies, though. So if you are okay with that, because for some reason there's a lot of people who love A24 movies, but if you're okay with all that, then feel free to go see this movie, because I would recommend seeing the movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it had good performances at the very least. But that's all I've been able to say about the movie, to be honest. Like, there's not really much else to say without getting into spoilers. So in terms of food, I'm going to give this movie a vanilla cupcake with vanilla icing. Now, vanilla cupcakes, I think that everyone prefers chocolate. I think that everyone prefers a little chocolate on their cupcakes. Like, even if you have like a vanilla cupcake with chocolate frosting or something like that, like, people always seem to prefer those types of cupcakes, or red velvet. I never really see very many people getting the vanilla. They'll even get the strawberry, like an American Horror Story, where, the guy is feeding the twins the poison strawberry cupcake. People don't really like vanilla. It's vanilla. And you have to be a very strange and crazy person to like vanilla. In fact, I actually I corresponded with a woman who was literally insane, and she loved vanilla. Like, it was like a creepy thing. Like, I think we were talking about like ice creams, and she immediately said vanilla, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And in my head I was like, oh god, she really is crazy, because I mean it's just something. It's something about vanilla. It's just, I don't understand it. Like I don't understand the concept of being crazy about vanilla. Like, you could like vanilla. I like vanilla. I'll have a vanilla ice cream cone, but like, what? I don't know. This movie, though, it is a vanilla cupcake because, sometimes, though, I get in the mood for a vanilla cupcake, and I love that vanilla icing, and there's something about it where I don't know, it's a different kind of sensation, a different kind of experience to have a vanilla cupcake versus a chocolate or any other kind. Like, there's just something different about that vanilla. There's something interesting about it, as Charlie, the main character, says in this movie. And so I think that that's what this movie is. It's a movie that you could watch it if you're in the mood once in a while. I mean, I would probably not watch it again, to be honest. Like, it was pretty simple. I wanted more, and I can't say anything else without spoiling it. So now I am just going to leave this movie, this review, as a freebie too, because I don't think it'll be very long, so I don't think it would justify putting on Patreon. So anyways, spoiler alert, this movie is all about a couple they're about to get married, and then they are telling stories about the worst things they've ever done. And I could tell you guys something bad that I've done in the past, by the way. I will not tell you the worst thing I've ever done, but I will tell you one bad thing that I did. And so anyways, Zendaya reveals that her character, as a teenager, planned a school shooting. And she was very, very close to doing it. She even had her father's rifle from the military, and she did not go through with it, though. And basically the whole movie is about this couple, and like, will they get married? Is she still crazy? Why did she want to do this when she was a teenager? Will the fiance, will he grow a pair, and will he stand by his fiance, or will he leave her? What is he going to do? And so a lot of the movie revolves around how her fiance is this weak-kneed, kind of anxious people pleaser kind of guy. And I just really, really liked Robert Pattinson's performance because he nailed it. He did such a good job at playing this weak character, and you really just wanted to see, like, over everything, you wanted to see him grow a pair, and you wanted to see him speak up for himself and speak his truth. And he does that near the end of the movie. I didn't feel like that was long enough. I felt like that was probably the best part of the movie, because it felt like, hey, like, they paid that off, like, that was very satisfying. It was so it was so satisfying to see something get paid off, whereas in a lot of other A24 movies, you feel this kind of letdown feeling. You feel disappointed or dissatisfied. But again, I wanted more. Because the big issue is that by the end of the movie, there's so much rumination. There's rumination between the couple. There's rumination between him and the people he works with. There's rumination between her and the people she works with, and her maid of honor, who is played by the main co-lead from Licorice Pizza. I think her name was Elena Haim. I can't remember. but I think she's a Zionist, so that's pretty bad. She was probably the worst part of the movie. Every time she came on screen, it was like, oh God, like they got the perfect person to play that role, because the character was supposed to be kind of a revolting character. And I will say too, if you all are still watching that were interested in this movie, or you've seen this movie and you were disappointed, there is a really, really good movie that's kind of like this, and I want to recommend it to you. I can't remember the title, but I think it's a TV movie, or it's like an 80s or 90s movie with Michael Keane, Sheriff Truman from Twin Peaks, and he plays a former, or still I don't even want to say the word. He was a PED. Okay, he was like Jared from Subway. Okay, and he just got out of prison, and he moves to the small town, and he's gotta resist his urges, and he's gotta start living a normal life, and he's being monitored all the time. And then at the same time, oh no, wait, no, he was a rapist, and so he got out of prison, and it's a really, really interesting movie because a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of action, but it's not like action. There's a lot of drama, a lot of good drama. And I would say that movie is like 1,000 times better than this. There was a lot more intense drama. They even had a neighbor who, I think that she was in the original Stephen King's It, and she was really good in the movie. And so at the same time that this guy is just trying to live his life while he's being harassed, there is a rapist going around, and he is attacking women, and you're wondering, is he doing that as well? Like, is he slipping back? And it's a really, really dark movie, and it's really, really good. And I'm telling you guys, it's definitely worth checking out, and it is better than this movie for sure. But then again, with this movie, her character, going back to the drama, her character, Emma, she never did the school shooting when she was a teenager. She didn't go through with it. But just the interesting thing is, like, you wonder, why did she do that? Why did she want to do that? But then again, like, a lot of people, like, I never fantasized about that kind of thing, okay? But I did fantasize about fighting my school bullies, some of them. I fantasized about trapping one of them and going Norman Bates on them, because, like, I hated those people. Like, that they were horrible. And, like, honestly, like, I don't know, but this is a next step, though, to think about doing this kind of a thing. And so it was really kind of this interesting, like, dichotomy of, like, how did she go from that to becoming this seemingly really sweet and normal, nice, everyday girl? How did she go through that transformation? And to me, the biggest problem with the movie is that they don't really answer that very well. She says that, like, there was another shooting that happened, and it just kind of made her get turned off of the idea. But there's just something weird about that, where I felt like, is there going to be more to it? Are there going to be any good twists? Is there going to be anything more interesting than, like, I just decided not to? Like, but then again, too, they brought up the point that there's probably a lot of people who fantasized about committing one of those. I don't want to say the words too many times, but that is very true. And it is something scary to think about of like you're walking around every day, just walking down the street, and any one of those people could be someone who at one point maybe they had some kind of a murderous fantasy like that. And there's something really kind of creepy about that. It's kind of like, because the whole point of like school shootings or mass shootings is that they're like a surprise. They're like a terrorist attack, they're like a very ugly surprise. And so to think about like the aspect of like going to the grocery store and, anyone at the grocery store could have had a fantasy about that at one point in their lives. It's a really scary thought to think about because, you just think like, well, how did they just turn off? Like there was that one guy who shot up like a convenience store that he worked at, and he was one of the very famous cases. And he just flipped a coin. And if it landed on whatever, he would do the shooting. Or if it landed on the opposite side, I think he just said that he would off himself and his parents or something. But, you just have to think like, I don't know, like it's a much more serious thing than they made it out to be in the movie. And that was what was kind of weird about the movie, was that they treated it very seriously at first. And then throughout the movie, it kind of felt like the movie was pointing the audience in a certain direction. Like, okay, like, let's be honest here. We've all had some problems before, like, let's be honest here. We don't judge people, like, don't, what is that saying? Like, don't judge lest ye be judged. I don't know if that's the accurate saying, but like, it was kind of this weird message of like, oh, well, maybe you've done something wrong sometime. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't plan on doing what she was doing. Like, I didn't do anything like this character, like, I don't think it's on the same level, but so I don't know. There's a discussion to be had. And I think that that's one of the good things about this movie, is that it offers something to discuss. And I think that that's something that's missing about, our society. And to be fair, that is a good message to come from this movie, to have something like cancel culture, where you're like, oh, well, that person did something wrong, cancel, and then they never get to make up for that mistake, or they never get to, try to right their wrongs or change. They're always going to be treated terribly because of something they've done. There are certain levels to that, obviously. Like, I would never, I would never endorse someone like John Wayne Gacy being uncanceled, but to apply that to things of like, in this case, this girl didn't even commit a crime. She didn't even commit an actual crime. All she did was think about committing one. And there were certain points, though, where they made it look really, really bad. And that's another thing that was kind of strange, was that it felt like the movie didn't have the balls to really show, like, the mind of a school shooter. Because, like, I've done a lot of research on, like, Columbine and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really dark subject, and it's really hard to think about for long periods of time without getting depressed and without getting just really disturbed. And so to me, I think that this movie had a service and had a responsibility to answer for that, and to answer, like, it's not just some kind of cute dark comedy thing of like, oh, what if your attractive supermodel fiance confessed that she was going to commit a school shooting and she didn't go through with it? That's not cute or funny. It's just very strange, like the way that they treated that topic in this movie. And I was fine with it. Like, I thought there were some funny things throughout, but I just thought it was strange that they never confronted it, really. They never confronted it at the end. In fact, they treated it like, well, it is what it is. She's okay now, I guess. There was a really creepy scene where she has a kitchen knife and she goes into the bedroom, and then her fiance jumps and he's like, oh shit, and she gets mad that he got scared of her. And so then, instead of like backing off, she tries to scare him on purpose, and she starts to lunge at him with the knife. And it's like, what the hell? Like, she was actually pretty creepy. And I just think that I wish this movie went further. I wish that it had balls, because it was kind of a ballless movie. It was like a neutered movie. You know, it was definitely very A24. And let's see, what else should I mention? Well, there's this part where Charlie, he is getting very upset because he's confiding in his coworker Misha, I think her name is, or Mika. He's asking her like a what if scenario about like, what if your boyfriend had wanted to do that? And he gets really upset, he throws a tantrum, and then he leaves and goes back to his office. She follows him there, and then he makes advances on her, and she bends over and lifts up her skirt like she's ready to get plowed by, you know, Mr. Twilight Boy. And then he kisses her, but he doesn't go through with plowing her, which that was probably one of the most disappointing things of the movie, because I felt like, man, you got a school shooter, like wannabe school shooter fiance. And the worst part, by the way, about the whole story with that, and I forgot to mention this, the worst part is that Emma said that, I don't know, like, it was just like an ideal, like, I just wanted to look cool, or they looked cool online. It was a big online thing, and they all looked cool. And it's like, ooh, like, it's a really, really nasty, it's really, really nasty to learn about, like, that people would, like, think that school shooters look cool, or that there's something, like, attractive about them. Like, it's really, really just gross. And again, though, how did she change? Because another thing, too, before I get to the other thing, another thing is that at the beginning of the movie, there were some kind of hints that she was crazy. You know, she was kind of erratic at the beginning of the movie. But then for some reason, as soon as she lets out her confession, she's never that way again throughout the rest of the movie. And that was a very, like, Hollywood type of thing for me, of like, oh, now that she has confessed about her fantasy, she's going to be perfectly okay the rest of the movie and never going to really act crazy again, because that'll be more of a mystery or something. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm saying, is that this movie felt very neutered. Now, here's the thing. Because he kissed this woman, it felt like the movie kind of tried to treat that like, okay, well, you know, you judged your fiance for wanting to do a school shooting. Well, you tried to have sex with, this woman who had a boyfriend when you're also engaged And it's like, yeah, but like cheating is not as bad as plotting to kill people, like defenseless children, at school. That is pretty much the worst thing that you could possibly do. I mean, second to Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know, like it's pretty bad. And so it seemed though like the movie was on the side of Zendaya. By the end of the movie, it's like, okay, well, he stands by her and he defends her vehemently in front of all these people, even in front of her father. And you never see any resolution from that. There's no follow-up. There's just this kind of weird little art house movie thing where he goes back to their apartment and he plays this song that they played before of like, I guess that it was the song that played when they first met each other or something, and he's like fantasizing like, oh, I wish I could just restart and just meet her again and just, forget about all the drama. And then the ending is they meet in a diner and they do that whole pretending act. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess there's just not going to be any resolution here. It's just going to be, they're going to move on. They don't care. To me, I thought that was very neutered, and I thought that it was very, it was very weak. It was a weak conclusion. I didn't expect people to start killing each other in the movie, but I expected there to be some kind of like something, some kind of a storm, a thunderstorm. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, what's the movie called? Let's see, Virginia Woolf, the Virginia Woolf movie. You guys should know. That's like a famous movie. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? That movie is another movie that this one kind of reminds me of, but that movie is a lot better than this. And in that movie, it really felt like things happened. It felt like conclusions were reached that made sense, and there was a logic to the madness. But in this movie, it's just all very vague, and it's all very like, okay, like we're just gonna ruminate, we're just gonna marinate in these ideas. I mean, that's what A24 movies are like, though. So I don't know. I guess I just have to expect that when I watch any of their movies. I guess I can't watch an A24 movie and just say, hey, I hope that this is good. I guess I have to kind of grade everything on a curve. Like, okay, like it's going to be an A24 movie, but maybe it'll be a better A24 movie. And I will say that this was one of the better ones, I guess. I mean, I'd have to rank them all, but yeah, so this was an okay movie. I would recommend it, but I think that it was weird. It was definitely weird. I felt like it needed to go a lot further. So, anyways, please like this video and comment. Tell me what you thought of the drama. And then please subscribe to our channel. Oh my god, I forgot. I conveniently forgot to tell you guys a bad thing that I've done. Okay, so in elementary school, I was friends with this guy. And I'm not going to say his real name. He turned out to be a shithead anyway. I'll say his name. No, I won't say his name. I'll give him a code name. I will call him Charlie, like the main character in this movie. So this guy he was really, really weird. And he had terrible breath. He bragged to me that he didn't brush his teeth. He bragged about it, and we would stand in line for lunch, and it was really hard to deal with. It was really hard to hang around him, and he was the type of guy who he was like a hanger-oner, and that made it to where it was really hard to be around other people because they didn't want to be around him either. And he was also very obnoxious and annoying, and he would do really strange things. Like he would sing the iCarly theme song really loudly in line, and he was a terrible person to be around. And so I wanted to find a way to get rid of him, because I was just sick and tired of him, and I found him to be very annoying. And so, and I know that this is going to sound bad. I don't really care, because again, he turned out to be a huge shithead anyway as an adult, and so I really don't care. To be honest, I think that I was right to do what I did, because he turned out to be terrible anyways. And that's what frequently happens, by the way, is that like I'll make really harsh judgments about people, and then they will prove me right. And there's very few times where it's like, oh, well, actually, that person was pretty cool. But anyways, I took 2 science trophy medals that I won. And I took scissors and I tore into the ribbons to make it look like... not the ribbons. They were medals, but like the ribbon around the medals to make it look like someone had destroyed them or someone had tried to destroy them. And I pulled my 3rd grade teacher aside, and I told her Charlie has been bullying me, and he even ripped up my science fair medals, and I can't stand it anymore. He's terrorizing me. And so what ended up happening, though, is she then pulled him outside, and I think she yelled at him, and then she took him to the principal's office. And he ended up having to switch schools. He ended up having to go to a completely new school, and then he ended up coming back to go to high school with us, and he continued to be a shithead. And he got a lot worse too. I mean, if you guys thought that was bad, he got a lot worse. And but anyways, that is one bad thing that I've done before. I don't consider it to be bad though, because he kind of deserved it. I mean, it was really hard to be around him, and it was really hard because again, he just would not leave me alone. And so I figured that I would use that to my advantage, and that I would say, okay, well, he won't leave me alone. What am I going to do? In hindsight, though, I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't think it's good to lie about people, though. So, but it is what it is, you know. I mean, it's not like planning a school shooting or anything, you know, so I'm not going to worry about it. So anyways, and he's married and has children now, so who even fucking cares? So anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. And lastly, please head on over to our Patreon page if you would like to see more bonus content, exclusive content, rankings, spoiler movie reviews just like this one, and also my short film, County Fear. That's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon. Thank you so much for watching.